There was somebody else though in the chat that was new. I wanted to welcome them as well. If you're new here, stick around. You're going to understand just how important this message is today. It's one of those things, and I'm going to be doing quite a bit of reading through it, and we're going to walk through it. So just be patient. This isn't going to be sensational or entertaining in that way. I am going to go to that, and it is a. Let me change this screen here. Go to here. So Charles Eisenstein or Eisenstein, Mob Morality and the Unvexed. Yes, I say it that so it doesn't pick up on the algorithm. It actually does work, and has an entirely unique meaning. So thanks so much, As Above, So Beloved, for posting the Discord invite. Anybody who wants to join that Discord, and then you can communicate with the rest of the family here. And same rules apply, no dogma. So I apologize again. I'm drinking tea here. I'm drinking hot tea. In fact, let me have a sip. At the recommendation of Jacob Israel, who is in the house, Jacob texted me, and I said, I'm feeling like crap. And he said, hot tea and honey. So I have hot tea and honey. My head's a little cloudy, so I feel a little bit like Joe Biden. I apologize for that. But I'm going to be reading this to you, but we're going to get to that later. I wanted to start off with something that was really interesting. Hold on. We're going to get to this, some of the TikTok videos, but I'm going to play this guy right here. And let me go to this, in fact. And there's a reason why. There's a reason why I'm going to be playing this. But I'm going to let it go now first. And I'm just going to tell you that the response that he received from this, that this gentleman received from this video, was overwhelming. Thousands upon thousands of responses, people reaching out. Now you're gonna hear the story. There's two parts to this. It's this video, and the reason why I'm showing this is because I'm trying to show you that it is difficult, that it is not easy to walk in Christ, and even those that don't know they're walking in Christ, because Christ is just stepping out and being a person that has love in their heart. In this world, that's the beginning of it. That doesn't mean you've reached that and you're sitting at the right hand with God. But it does mean that you begin walking in that, and it's difficult, and the pressures, and people do not handle that well. The people look to others for motivation and for answers. And as you know, I always want you to find the answers on your own. I'm going to overturn the rock and say, look, and if you see it, you see it, and if you don't, you don't. If you hear my voice then, and you hear these things, well, then you might be part of the sheep. My sheep hear my voice. Your sheep will hear your voice. So not everybody has 80,000 sheep. They don't. And I can tell you right now, what comes along with the responsibility of it is overwhelming, and you're going to hear that. But I want you to watch this video and listen to this man. He is a beautiful spirit. He is a gay guy. So before you go off on that, anybody that's been here a long while know how I feel about that. And this is a genuinely beautiful spirit, this guy. Oh, hold on, I'm missing my audio.
Hey, TikTok. My name is Brian. I'm a 48-year-old gay guy in Texas. Somewhat accomplished, but mostly a loser, I suppose. I've not had much luck finding gay dudes that want to go bass fishing or saltwater fishing. It's either too hot or some bullshit like that, or not enough time. So my question is there any straight people out there who would be willing to go fishing with a gay guy? I mean, I understand that in today's society, people's perception is their reality, and you might be guilty by association, but I say fuck them. Let them think what they want to think. But you straight guys out there, some of us gay dudes are really good friends.
So it says, I'm getting a lot of things. Did the video freeze up? Hello from Yuba City, California. Hello back. It says badly buffering. Okay, error. Please use keyframe frequency 4 seconds or less. Currently, keyframes are not being sent often enough. Oh, look at this. So I've got some, oh, yay. So this is the first bug. Now, I haven't changed, just so you know, I haven't changed any of my settings. I haven't changed any of my settings. So I'm sorry, folks, if this is I'm just trying to watch this and look at my stream here. And it's not really letting me, let me look at this stream health. All right, it says my stream health is poor. Okay, so I'm going to try to, let me see if I can do this. I know, I'd go fishing with him, of course. But let me finish this because I'm going to explain to you what happened. This guy had thousands of responses and many people, and it was overwhelming to him. But something took place after that because the people that were interacting with him. So I'm going to, just to let you know how good of a guy this is right here.
Friends.
I'm going to finish this.
And we're really good at outdoor shit. So give a gay guy a chance, man. Let's go fucking fishing. Hey, TikTok.
So he said, let's go fishing. Now, that was probably about 2.5 months ago, and he's had quite, you can go through, and his username is Old Superman USA. Old Superman USA. Now, but I want you to hear the heart of this guy right here. I want you to hear the heart of this man and the seriousness, because it's really remarkable. And this is what I mean. When you begin walking in Christ and people are looking at you, he doesn't even know it. He doesn't know that he's even being that example. But you're all going to be one of those examples here very soon. And so I want you to understand that this isn't going to be easy going forward. What's coming ahead won't be easy, but you will be prepared for it because of these kinds of conversations and listening to things like this.
Talk. It's Monday around, I don't know, 10:45. And last evening I posted a video about a young boy that reached out to me wanting me to be his father. But I don't think that I'm built for that. So I wanted you guys to kind of help out if you could. About 12 days ago, my life totally changed. I put that video up about looking for a fishing buddy, and the response was overwhelming, and I'm thankful. And I guess maybe 10,000 messages a day is what I get, positive, but then I get a bunch where young college guys that are athletes send me messages asking, you know, can I call them? Because my video inspired them to come out. And I'm glad that worked for them, but I don't want to give anybody the wrong advice. And you know, I get the ones that say if I don't contact them, they're going to kill themselves. And so, you know, a couple of nights a week, I stay on the phone for hours with people that I've not even met. I've not even met before. So I don't think I'm built for this. I don't think I'm the one for this. I mean, I wasn't trying to start a movement or anything. I was just trying to I don't know what I was trying to do, to be honest with you. But, you know, I've had to fight my whole life. People judging me for being gay and making comments and stuff like that. And I'm glad you younger people think that's a role model, but I'm not a role model. And everybody's wanting me to take this boy to be my son. And I mean, how can you be a parent if you never really had parents? So everybody that's messaging me, just be patient. I'll get to you as quick as I can. And the ones that you just support me, I thank you so much. And I'll try to keep this going as long. Hey.
So I wanted to show you that. And I wanted you to hear what he was saying. He feels completely unworthy of these types of reactions. That's called humility. That's what that is. It's called humility. People that say it's buffering, now I have excellent connection, it says on this end, so I don't have anything preventing, causing anything. So that might be on your end at this point. It looks like it might have fixed itself. I'm not sure. I know that's never an enjoyable thing when all of that's happening. Well, but in listening to this guy, I wanted you to hear how unworthy he feels he is. He doesn't feel he could. I mean, these people are asking him to be his father. Kids are being asked him. And what more is that these other people that are gay that are coming out, see, he's causing that. And he knows that that's going to be difficult for them. And he doesn't want to cause that difficulty. And he doesn't want that. But sometimes the refiner's fire is going to bring that out. Now, for people that have an issue because this guy's gay, and I saw somebody, and it's an abomination of Yahweh, well, you can take Yahweh, and you can go to Yahweh, and you could take that satanic son of a bitch and throw him off to the side. And if you don't like that, you can leave this stream now. Because that's not our Father. You must understand that there are more than one God that are worshiped in this world. And one of them being the scapegoat, Azazel, is just one of the names. But the book of Enoch said, attribute all sin to Azazel. Well, of course, he wasn't the only one that fell. There were many that fell with him, but he's the scapegoat because something had to be done. So with that, I'm going to be getting into that scapegoat, but I want to cover a couple more things here just so we can, let me see. Well, look at that. Lost 100 viewers with the Yahweh information. Good. You're going to start to hear a lot of truth coming out of this mouth here. And and out of this place. Malia's in the house, my beautiful, lovely, perfect, awesome wife. She'll say she's not, but she's perfect for me. Yes, Malia says, be careful not to judge anyone. They are likely enter the kingdom before you. Boom. Because that's how this functions. And we've all been deceived. There isn't one person. If anybody wants to say that this guy's unrighteous, there is not one righteous. No, not one. So if you think somehow that you're righteous and that you're following all the laws of Yahweh, then you should feel comfortable in that. And if anybody saw my last TikTok where I said, stop defending God, you only show how much you don't know him because you don't understand the power and the mere fact that you little you, think God needs your defense. It's staggering. Staggering. And I can tell you right now that the time that we're going into, what we're going to be talking about, in fact, I'm going to start reading it because I think it's pretty lengthy. I'm going to start going to that. I think it's this screen that I need to go to. Mob morality and the unvexed. Now, Charles Eisenstein, I'm sorry, Charles, if I'm mispronouncing your last name, but clearly he's Jewish, at least by his name, he would be Jewish. But yet, even with this article, he's been tainted as anti-Semitic. So there are really no rules or laws about who can be an anti-Semite, but usually it's just anti-Zionism, not anti-Semitic, and Zionism is not what you believe it is to do. Not today, it's not. So let's walk through this. We would like to think of modern societies like ours have outgrown barbaric customs like human sacrifice. Sure, we still engage in scapegoating and figuratively sacrificing people on the altar of public opinion, but we don't actually kill people in hopes of placating the gods and restoring order, or do we? Some scholars believe we do. Following the thought of the late philosopher René Girard, they argue that human sacrifice is still with us today in the form of capital punishment and incarceration, a removal from society. Girard believed that human sacrifice arose in response to what he called a sacrificial crisis. The original sacrificial crisis, the greatest threat to early societies, was escalating cycles of violence and retribution. The solution was to redirect the vengeance away from each other and in violent unanimity toward a scapegoat or a class of scapegoats. Once established, this pattern was memorialized in myth and ritual and applied preemptively as human sacrifice and carried out in response to any other crisis that threatened society. Now, we haven't even gotten to the good stuff in this, but I'm going to let you know right now, the scapegoating is going to happen, and you will be one of them. No, you will not survive this if you are different. Period. Wait till we get into this. You're going to understand, because I'm going to be rereading, and I'm going to be going to John 11, and I'll direct you there when we get there. Going to John 11, because we're going to be speaking about Christ's sacrifice and what he actually represented. Because the return of Christ, is not going to be one man. It's going to be many, multitudes, like he said. If they say that I'm over there or I'm over there, don't believe them. For the return of the Son of Man will be like lightning striking in the east, and it also flashes in the west. It's going to be wide. You've heard me say this many times. Wide and many. Our Father who art in heaven, not my Father, our Father. And the return and the veil that he rent is what allows us to actually have this today. So let's keep going, because you were chosen specifically for this scapegoating. You were, but don't look at yourself as, oh, I'm just the scapegoat. I'm miserable. No. You are chosen for that. And it's a good thing. And you're going to understand it, because that's how you get out of this hellhole. That's how you escape this world. By being like Christ, picking up your cross and following him. And it's about to happen on large scale. It'll come in multitudes of ways from multiple different areas. It'll come from your neighbor. It'll come from your family. Families first, neighbors next, then just strangers. The government's going to let you all do this first. The least amount of blood's on their hands doing the actual sacrifices, what they plan on. So, in this view, capital punishment is originated in human sacrifice, and it is human sacrifice. It performs the same function to forestall reciprocal violence through unanimous violence. It does so by monopolizing vengeance, truncating the cycle of retaliatory violence at the first iteration. This works whether the subject of the execution or incarceration is guilty of a crime or not. Do you see where this is going? They don't have to be guilty of a crime. Christ knew he was going to the cross, and he knew that they would crucify him, because that's what they do to people or to a society or groups of people that have disrupted the social balance and demand blood. They're already preparing your murderer for being unvexed. We all know better. So, the subject of modern execution, it says. Oh, and by the way, in this view, capital punishment originated. Justice is the cover story for something more primal, theologian Brian K. Smith writes. The subject of modern, quote, the subject of modern execution might also be carrying multivalent significations. Now, I'm going to tell you, this guy writing sometimes gives me a little tongue-tied, because he's a theologian and he's a writer, and he likes to use words I've never even heard of before. So, among other things, racial and economic mnemonic potentialities, such a figure might serve as the representative of all crime, of disorder and social chaos, of the breakdown of values, etc., apart from any utilitarian deterrent effect capital punishment might have. It is one rather drastic response to a social problem, illegal and illicit violence. In other words, what we rationalize in the language of justice. Here, let me pop this up so you guys can see that better. In other words, what we rationalize in the language of justice and deterrence is actually a blood ritual in which a person, whether guilty or not, becomes a symbol. Ritual springs up irrepressibly around executions, the last meal, the dead man walking to the social execution chamber, or the special execution chamber, the witnesses, the medical procedures, the presiding physician, the signed papers, the last rites, the covering of the head, the precise timetable, the final words, and the exacting attention to detail all mark off the execution as a separate, special, sacred activity. Something must be done. In a lucid argued paper, legal scholar Roberta Hardings offers several examples from the Deep South during Jim Crow where judge, jury, and prosecutor well knew that the accused black man was innocent of the charge of raping the white woman. However, because the white supremacist social order was threatened by consensual interracial intercourse, they executed the accused anyway. If they failed to do so promptly, he was lynched. So you see how they'll be doing it because you're demanding it, or they are. Crucify him. Crucify him. All of them screamed it. All of them. Partly this was to set an example and terrify the black population, but partly it was because something had to be done. Of course, by the same token, it mattered little that the Afghan villagers or the Iraqi politician had no culpability for 9/11, nor did it matter that bombing them would have no practical effect on future terrorism except to further inflame it, of course. Obviously, the United States was using 9/11 as a pretext to accomplish larger geopolitical claims, yet it worked as a pretext only because of broad public agreement that something must be done. And enacting the old age pattern, we knew what to do. Find some target of unifying violence that can effectively retaliate. I was dismayed, he says in 2001, when at a Quaker meeting of all places, one of the Quakers said, "Of course, a forceful response of some kind is necessary." What I wondered was, what does forceful mean? It means bombing someone. In other words, we must find someone upon whom to visit violence. He may have also mentioned addressing the imperialist causes of terrorism, but those were not the subject of the course. Nearly everyone instinctively took for granted the necessity of finding sacrificial victims. You have to. We were definitely going to bomb someone. The only question was whom. The 9/11 attack exemplifies what Harding calls a triggering incident, which resuscitates dissension, rivalries, jealousies, and quarrel with the community, leading to a sacrificial crisis. A recent such incident was the murder of George Floyd. Now listen how all these things are coming together. The latent conflict is exposed to have been festering for so long that it takes a little provocation for them to erupt into an active crisis. The response to Floyd's murder is a classic illustration of the calming power of violent unanimity, as Derek Chauvin's conviction and sentencing temporarily quelled the racialized civil unrest that the killing sparked. Something was done, but only to quell the unrest, not to solve the complex, heavily ramified problem of police killings. It no more addressed the source of America's race problems than killing Osama bin Laden made America safe from terrorism. Not just any victim will do as an object of human sacrifice. Victims must be, as Harding puts it, in but not of society. In but not of society. In the world but not of it. Copy that? Or is this on? Can you hear me? This is why during the Black Death, mobs roamed about murdering Jews for poisoning the wells. The entire Jewish population of Basel was burned alive, a scene repeated throughout Western Europe. Yet this was not to maintain the result of pre-existing virulent hatred of Jews waiting for an excuse to erupt. It was that victims were needed to release social tension on and hatred on an instrument of that release coalesced opportunistically on the Jews. They qualified as victims because of their in but not of status. Combating hatred is combating a symptom. Do you see where all of this is going? Scapegoats needn't be guilty, but they must be marginal, outcast, heretics, taboo breakers, or infidels of one kind or another. If they are too alien, they will be unsuitable as transfer objects of in-group aggression. We're perfect. We're perfect. We're absolutely perfect, and it's being prepared that way, if you didn't know. Neither can they be full members of society, lest cycles of vengeance ensue. If they are not already marginal, they must be made so. Now you see how certain political parties who follow certain political leaders are being made to be those outcasts, regardless of the reality of it. Just to be clear here, I'm not saying Derek Chauvin's conviction of George Floyd's murder was unjust. I'm saying that justice was not the only thing carried out. Aside from criminals who today serves as the representative of Smith's disorder, social chaos and breakdown of values that seem to be overtaking the world. For most of my life, external enemies and the story of the nation served to unify society. Communism and the Soviet Union, Islamic terrorism, the mission to the moon, and the mythology of progress. Today, the Soviet Union is long dead, terrorism has ceased to terrify, the moon is boring, and the mythology of progress is in terminal decline. Civil strife burns ever hotter without the broad consensus necessary to transform it into a unifying violence. For the right, it's Antifa, Black Lives Matter, protesters, critical race theory academics, and undocumented immigrants that represent social chaos and the breakdown of values. For the left, it's the Proud Boys, the right-wing militias, white supremacists, QAnon, the Capitol rioters, and the burgeoning new category of, quote, domestic terrorists. And finally, to find the left-right categorization is a promising new scapegoat class. The heretics of our time, the anti-vexers, as a readily identifiable subpopulation, they are ideal candidates for scapegoating. It matters little whether any of those pose a real threat to society. As with the subjects of criminal justice, their guilt is irrelevant to the project of restoring order through blood sacrifice or expulsion from the community by incarceration, or, in more tepid but possibly prefiguratively form, through canceling. So you remember I had posted a video where a gentleman was saying, I can't remember his name just offhand. I'm drawing a blank again. I'm sorry, I'm pulling a Joe Biden. I can't remember his name, but he said that the cancel culture is a dress rehearsal for mass murder. He's right. He's dead on. So is this guy. They see it. This is historical. And there's a video out there, and we haven't played it, and Malia and I were going to play it. And it's about large swaths, like everybody collectively has gone insane. Collectively. That's kind of what happens in this. This is why they demand something. So, let me continue with this. It matters little whether they are any part of this real society with subjects of criminal justice. Their guilt is irrelevant to the project of restoring order through blood sacrifice, expulsion through the community, but possibly prefiguratively form through canceling. All that is necessary is that the dehumanized class around the blind indignation and rage necessary to incite paroxysm of unifying violence. More relevant to current times, this primal mob energy can be harnessed towards fascist political ends. Totalitarian right and left invoke it directly when they speak of purges, ethnic cleansing, racial purity, and traitors in our midst. I might need my glasses. It's a little fuzzy because the monitor's quite far away. I'm surprised I'm actually able to read this. Sacrificial subjects carry an association of pollution or contagion. Their removal thus cleanses society. I know people in the alternative health fields who are considered unclean that if I so much as mention their names in a tweet or a Facebook post, the post may be deleted. Deletion is a certainty if I link to an article or interview with them. The public's ready acceptance of such a blatant censorship cannot be explained solely in terms of its believing the pretext of controlling misinformation. Unconsciously, the public recognizes and conforms to the age-old program of investing a pariah subclass, with the symbology of pollution. So he's using a lot of words here, and sometimes he gets a little too wordy and makes it difficult for you to follow along. But what he's saying is that there are people that are already pariahs, and they are a symbol of this pollution, and they're creating these. They're already creating their subclass. You already know they are preparing for human sacrifice on very large levels. Very large levels. And that's called a harvest. It's a harvest or a holocaust, because that's what Holocaust means. It means burnt offering, if you didn't know. This program is well underway toward the unvexed, who are being portrayed as walking cesspools of germs who might contaminate the sanctified brethren, the vexed. My wife perused an acupuncture Facebook page today, which one would expect to be skeptical of mainstream medicine, where someone asked, "What is the word that comes to mind to describe the unvexed people?" The responses were things like filth, assholes, and Death Eaters. This is precisely the dehumanization necessary to prepare a class of people for cleansing, a culling. Now, there is a science behind this, folks. There's truly a science behind this. The science behind this portrayal is dubious. Contrary to the association of the unvexed with public danger, some experts contend that it is the vexed that are more likely to drive mutant variants through selection pressure, just as antibiotics result in higher mutation rates and adaptive evolution in bacteria, leading to antibiotic resistance. So many vexes push things to mutate. Hence the prospect of endless boosters against the endless new variants. The phenomenon has been studied for decades, as this article in my favorite math and science website, Quanta, describes the mutated variants evade the vaccine-induced antibodies, in contrast to the robust immunity that, according to some scientists, those who have already been sick with the thing, they have it to all the variants. They're immune, natural immune. See this and more analysis here compared to Dr. Fauci's viewpoint. So you can read this article. This article is posted in the description below the video. You can click on that and read along if you would like. I'm sorry I didn't tell you that earlier. And just for those that are in chat, I will copy this and put it here for you all in chat. It is not my purpose here, however, to present a scientific case. My point is that those in the scientific and medical community who dissent from the demonization of the unvexed content, not only with opposing scientific views, but with ancient, powerful psychosocial forces. Remember that, ancient, powerful psychosocial forces. A different way to spiritual war. We battle demons, principalities. They can debate the science all they want, but they are up against something much bigger. Rwandan scientists could just as well have debated the precepts of Hutu power for all the good that it would have done. Perhaps the Nazi example is more opposite here, since the Nazis did invoke science in their extermination campaigns. Then, as now, science was a cloak for something more primal, tribal, which is what they're doing. The hurricane of sacrificial violence easily swept aside the minority of German scientists who contested the science of eugenics, and it wasn't because the dissidents were wrong. They were right, just like they are today. The dissidents are right It doesn't matter. That's why everybody feels gaslit. We face a similar situation today. If the mainstream view on the thing is wrong, it will not be overthrown by science alone. The pro-vax camp has a powerful, non-scientific ally in the collective ID, expressed through various mechanisms of ostracism, shaming, and other social and economic pressure. It takes courage to defy a mob. It also takes courage to lead one. Oy vey. Do you see where this is all headed, folks? Doctors and scientists who express anti-vax views risk losing funding, jobs, and licenses, just as ordinary citizens face censorship on social media. Even non-polemic essay like this one will likely be censored, especially if I stain it with pollution of the heretics by linking blacklisted websites or articles by the disinformation dozen anti-vaxxers. Here, let's try it for fun. Well, good news is that he's on Substack, and so far Substack hasn't been removing stuff. So, read it while you can. Green Med Info, Children's Health Defense, Mercola.com. That felt like a little shouting swear words in the public. See, so I said them here, so we'll see. If I go off, we'll know. You better not follow these links, lest you be tainted by their pollution and your browsing history mark you as an infidel. To prepare someone for removal as the repository of all that is evil, it helps to heap upon them every imaginable calumny. But our raging narcissists... Oh, wait, hold on. I missed that. Thus, we hear in mainstream publications that anti-vaxxers not only are killing people, but are raging narcissists, white supremacists, vile spreaders of Russian disinformation, and tantamount to domestic terrorists. That's happening. These accusations are amplified by cherry-picking a few examples, choosing hysterical-looking photos of anti-vaxxers, and showcasing their most dubious arguments. If the authorities follow the playbook developed to counter other domestic threats, we can also expect agents, provocateurs, entrapment schemes, government agents voicing violent positions to discredit the movement, and so forth. Techniques developed in the infiltration of civil rights, environmental, and anti-globalism events. So they will infiltrate. They will lead, just like those, I believe it was a mayor that they were going to kidnap. And these people were put in prison because they were tried because they were going to kidnap this mayor or governor. I can't recall. Again, I'm Bidenism. But it turned out that almost all of the people involved in the plot were all FBI. Excuse the coughing. At least I'm not sneezing. Knock on wood. Concerned friends have advised me to distance myself from members of the disinformation dozen whom I know, as if they carry some kind of contagion. Well, in a sense, they do. The contagion of disrepute. It reminds me of Soviet times when mere association with the dissident could land one in the gulag with them. Yes. It also reminds me of my school days when it was social suicide to be friendly with the weird kid whose weirdness would rub off on oneself. In grade school, the contagion was known as cooties. In my early teens, I was a weird kid, and the only very brave teenagers would be friendly to me while anyone was watching. I was kind of the same way. Clearly, the basic social dynamic pervades society at many levels. A deeply ingrained gut instinct recognizes the danger of membership in a pariah subclass. To defend the pariahs or to fail to show sufficient enthusiasm in attacking them marks one with suspicion. The result is its self-censorship, contributing to all the more illusions of unanimity. Go up here. Hacking morality. These are the crazy things. The same kind of positive reinforcement cycle is what generates a mob. All it takes is a few loud people to incite it by declaring someone or something as a target. A portion of the crowd goes along enthusiastically. The rest keep silent and conform in outward behavior. If you actually read the scriptures about Christ, it was the Pharisees there saying it. Of course, now they're the religious leaders and the doctors and the lawyers of their time. And then the crowd would mimic what they would say. Probably many of them felt bad that they did, but, they wouldn't want to be seen as being with that guy. They wouldn't want to be seen as being with him. Boy, they'd be in deep, deep trouble for that one. Just going to let you know ahead of advance, any questions that anybody has, just put them in all caps in the chat. I'm not going to be able to go for hours and hours and hours tonight, obviously, because I'm not feeling well. And again, like I said, I really I feel bad for Biden now, because my head is so cloudy, my sinuses are so bad that I kind of feel like I might know what he's feeling like right now. Same kind of positive generates the mob. Let me go to this. The rest keep silent and conform in outward behavior, even as they are troubled within. To each, it looks like he or she is not only the one who disagrees. Writ large, to the totalitarian state, the support of a majority of the population is unnecessary. The appearance of support will suffice. Sheeple, that's the problem. They'll just go along with the rest of them. Well, certainly, coming on here and talking about these things is not going along with the rest of them. Even you being here, you'll be associated with me. How's that? Let's see if that drops off any followers on the 638. We had 700 when I said Yahweh thing. If I was concerned about subscribers and how many people agreed with me, I wouldn't be saying anything at all. The mechanisms that generate the illusion of unanimity operates within science, medicine, and journalism, as well as among the general public. Some conform enthusiastically to the orthodoxy. Others complain in whispers and to sympathetic colleagues. Those who voice dissent publicly become radioactive. The consequences of their apostasy, excommunication from funding, ridicule in the media, shunning by colleagues who must, quote, distance themselves, serve to silence other potential dissidents who prudently keep their views to themselves. Notice that here I have not said what I personally think about the Vex safety, efficacy, or necessity. Be patient nonetheless. What I've said is enough for anyone to distance themselves from me to keep safe. If I'm not an anti-vexer myself, I certainly have the cooties. Someone on an online forum that I co-host related an instance. His children had a play date scheduled for their friend's house. A parent called him to ask if his family had been vaccinated. Politely, he said no, and his children were immediately disinvited. While his parents doubtless believe, he said this. While the parents doubtless believed that he was being scientific and canceling the invitation, I doubt science was really the reason. Even the most COVID orthodox, I said the word, person understands that the non-symptomatic children of non-symptomatic parents pose negligible risks of infection. Furthermore, and that's all CDC stuff, since the vaccine believers presumably trust that the Vex provides protection, rationally speaking, they have little to fear from the unvexed. The risk is vanishingly small, but the moral indignation is huge. I don't know how this guy actually kind of keeps so calm in everything that he writes, but many, if not most people, get the Vex in an altruistic civic spirit, not because they personally fear getting it, but because they believe they are contributing to herd immunity and protecting others. By extension, those who refuse the Vex are shirking their civic duty, hence the epithets filth and assholes. They become the identifiable representatives of social decay, ready for surgical removal from the body politic like cancer cells, all conveniently located in the same tumor that they've created. Social stability depends on people rewarding altruism, deterring antisocial behavior. These rewards and deterrents are encoded into morals and then into norms and taboos. Performing the rituals and avoiding the taboos of the tribe and shaming and punishing those who do not, one rests serenely in the knowledge of being a good person. As an added benefit, one distinguishes oneself as part of the moral majority, a full member of society, not part of the sacrificial minority. Our fear of nonconformity is born of ancient experience, so deeply ingrained it has become an instinct. It's hard to distinguish it from morality. Demons. The fear operating in the ostracism of the unvexed is mostly not fear of disease, though disease may be its proxy. The main fear, old as humanity, is of social contagion. It is a fear of association with the outcasts coded in moral indignation. In society, some people are easily zealous in enforcing group norms, value rituals, and taboos. They may be controlling types, or they may simply care about the common good. They serve an important function when the norms and rituals are aligned with social and ecological health. But when corrupt forces hijack the norms through propaganda and the control of information, these good folks can become instruments of totalitarian control. You think? Those doing the scapegoating may honestly, even fervently, believe the narrative of the unvexed endanger others. Again, while I find the evidence to the contrary persuasive, I won't try to build a case for it beyond the hints I've offered already. As the saying goes, you can't reason with someone out of a position they didn't reason themselves into in the first place. Now, bam. They didn't reason themselves into the position that they have. That's why they never have a response. They didn't actually go through the thing of, you know what, I'm going to decide and I'm going to reason and I'm going to apply logic and I'm going to look at this objectively. No, they didn't do that. So you will never be able to change that thought through a process that they never arrived at it in the first place. Genius quote. Furthermore, most of the citations I would use would come from blacklisted sources which owing to their heresy are unacceptable to those who trust official sources of information. Yeah, so if they trust official sources of information, they're never going to hear from you unless they're an official source. If you trust the official sources, why then you trust their exclusion of the heretical information? Why? When official sources exclude all dissent, then all dissent becomes a priori, invalid to those who trust them. Consequently, much of the dissent migrates to the dodgy right-wing websites without the resources to check facts and scrutinize sources. One would think, for an example, that a highly credentialed scientist like Dr. Peter McCullough, a professor of medicine, author of hundreds of peer-reviewed articles, and president of the Cardiorenal Society of America, would be able to find a hearing outside the right-wing media ecosystem. But no. He's been sidelined to places like the right-wing Catholic John Henry Western show. I wish I could find a link to this persuasive interview somewhere else, especially because there is actually nothing right-wing about McCullough's views. Tragically, the sites that host people like McCullough are quite often home to anti-immigrant and anti-LGBTQ articles that use the same tactics leveled at anti-vexers, that tap into the same template of dehumanization and scapegoating and lend themselves to the same fascist ends. Remember when I said don't pick a side? That's why. But it won't matter because, as you heard before, if we're not attacking them, well, we support them. Moving the masses. For these reasons, I won't try hard to substantiate my belief that, and I may as well say it explicitly as a gesture of goodwill to the censors, who will thus have an easier time deciding what to do with this article. The CV vexes are much more dangerous, less effective, and less necessary than we are told. They also seem not to be dangerous, at least in the short term, as some fear. People are not dropping dead in the streets or turning into zombies. Most of my vexed friends seem to be just fine, so it's hard to know. The science on the issue is so cloudy by financial incentives, systemic bias, and that is impossible to rely on it to light a way through the murk. The system of research and public health suppresses generic medicines, nutraceutical therapies, and that have been demonized to greatly reduce CV symptoms and mortality, leaving vexes the only choice. It also fails to adequately investigate numerous plausible mechanisms for serious long-term harm. Of course, plausible does not mean certain, At this point, no one knows, or indeed can know, what the long-term effects will be. My point, however, is not that the anti-vaxxers are right and being unjustly persecuted. It is that their persecution enacts a pattern that has little to do with whether they are right or wrong, innocent or guilty. The unreliability of the science underscores that point and suggests that we take a hard look at the deadly social impulses that the science cloaks. Now, this is a long article. We're almost there. I don't know whether you want me to continue, but I think you can probably see where it's going. I'm not going to read the rest of it. You can see where it's going. And this is the whole point. So I'm going to go, this is a TikTok of mine, and I'm going to pause this here. The conspiracy they created was with Jesus. Conspiracy. Now, again, they were doing exactly then to Jesus what they're going to be doing to us. This is the return of Christ. This is how it looks. You still waiting for that trumpet to blow and everybody's going to vanish and you can avoid all of this? It's not going to happen. The rapture isn't what you think it is. But you'll see. You will definitely see. But watch this video and then I'm going to read the scripture.
Everything you thought was true is a lie.
Oh, hold on. Let me go to this.
Part 7. Jesus was against religions. He didn't create Christianity. It's a religion. The controlled religion of Christianity was invented, and it was confessed to by Caiaphas in John 11:49 through 53. Read it. Caiaphas conspired to kill Jesus to create a religion to bring all of the people back to Israel to worship their one God. Which God was that? Jesus was a threat to their religious rule, which was government rule. The exact same Christian government that we have today. He said to the Pharisees and Sadducees, "Don't you know anything? We can kill him. He can die for everybody and bring all the children of God back to God." Which God? Your understanding of Jesus' intent is the stumbling block he spoke of. If you seek, click like, follow, and look at my YouTube channel listed in my bio for more information.
Okay, so let's look at the analytics on this thing. 221,000 plays, 21,000 likes, 1,500 comments, and 2,239 shares. That's pretty amazing for such a hard word. Pretty amazing for such a hard word. But let's look at this. Let me go to the... Oh, I've got the wrong one. Hold on. Why is this not... I don't know what's happening. Sorry, I'm having some technical errors here. Okay, got it. Okay, so this is John 11, and we're going to go down to the plot to kill Jesus. Many of the Jews, therefore, who had come with Mary and had seen what he did, believed in him. But some of them went to the Pharisees and told them what he had done. So the chief priests and the Pharisees gathered the council and said, "What are we to do? This man performs many signs, and if we let him go on like this, everyone will believe in him, and the Romans will come and take away both our place and our nation. We'll be canceled by the Romans. This is awful. Our society is collapsing because of this guy. He's spreading this nonsense." You see where this is going? But one of them, Caiaphas, who was the high priest that year, said to them, "You know nothing at all. You don't know the science behind this chaos stuff that we're dealing with. You know nothing at all, nor do you understand that it is better for you, not better for him, not better for them, not better for the world. It's better for you that one man should die for the people, and not the whole nation should perish." He did not say this on his own accord, but being high priest that year, he prophesied. Okay, so that's the whole point. The high priests of that time, when they said something like that, it was a prophecy that needed to be fulfilled now. Many prophecies are being fulfilled by the very people that created them intentionally to lead people in certain ways to cause certain things to happen. But being high priest that year, he prophesied that Jesus would die for the nation, and not for the nation only, but also to gather into one the children of God who are scattered abroad. The children of God, like I said. Which God? Which one? Jesus, therefore, no longer walked openly among the Jews, but went from there to the region near the wilderness to a town called Ephraim. And there he stayed with the disciples. So we don't need to read any more of that. You can go there. Again, that is John 11:45 through 53. John 11:45 through 53.
Hey, TikTok.
This is where we're going, folks. This is where we're going. And let me show you a few other things. I'm going to bring you up to speed on just some things. Again, making sure that you're just aware of them going on.
Fact, we're watching the governments of China and Russia probably recognize the Taliban for their own self-interests because they want the lithium that's mined there. You know, one man...
Yes.
Many Democrats,
all of it is lithium over there. You know, the lithium-ion batteries and all of that. Yes, they're going to be very, very friendly. So I would expect, in fact, if you look at Drudge Report, you won't be able to see it here on this unless I go full, but it says Pentagon hints at expanded operations in Kabul. I'm switching gears here for just a minute, but all of it points to the same things. Hang with me. Hang with me. You can't remove a president during war. So expect one. Because that thing that took place here in Arizona, yeah, that's going to be a much bigger deal than anybody knows, and they don't want anybody paying attention to that. And they certainly don't want it to actually accomplish what they intended it to accomplish. So try not to talk about that too much because it's very, very, that's the most sensitive part here on the tube. Let me get to not that.
running away from
Okay, now, another thing. So all of these different little lawlessness things going. Biden and Harris, time to step down. This is not what I'm playing this about. This is Newt talking about, do you guys know who Larry Elder is? Running for, let me type in his name here. He may be watching. This is Larry Elder. Larry is an old, very, very dear friend of mine. I've known him a long time. Syndicated talk radio host, smart. It's called the Sage from South Central. So he is running against Gavin Newsom in
this story.
in California for the recall. And he's doing extremely well. So just like everything going on. So when you think that, oh, they won't be able to do these things, they can't get away with that. Well, I think you know by now that they can get away with whatever the hell they want. But listen to what he says here at the end of this video.
Well, look, I think the Democratic Party, they have a remarkable talent, almost like muskox, where they gather together no matter what. They know that there are wolves out there, and no matter how bad their leader is, they stick with him. And it's very, very deep pressure. Not to break, not to say what you really think. In the case of Harris, you know, the vice president's job is to stand near the president and smile and be supportive. Why they happen to pick sending her to Saigon, or rather to Ho Chi Minh City and to Vietnam at this time is a little strange. But I don't think they thought that Afghanistan was going to collapse this fast, so they didn't think about the optics of the two places. She's on the way back from Asia. Newsom, the governor of California, is in deep trouble. She's his very close ally. Frankly, what people ought to look at is this is going to be an election where they go all out to steal the referendum. The Secretary of State of California has now said you can print your own ballots. I mean, you think about this. You talk about the opposite of election integrity. They're going to allow you to print your own ballots. They're going to allow people to come around and harvest your ballot. So the unions will be out there, and they'll make sure that everybody votes, even if they don't vote. And I think this may well be the most rigged statewide election we've seen probably in at least a half century. And I think people...
Rigged statewide election. So they can print their own ballots. I mean, you really can't make that stuff up. Print their own ballots, harvesting, yes. So it's going to be a very, very interesting time of what goes down, because basically they don't even care whether you know what they're doing anymore. So you know we're getting closer. You know it's culminating.
No.
Now, Trump had a rally yesterday. He had almost 100,000 people in Alabama at this place. But I got to tell you, there's some weird stuff, because I was watching it and I noticed it because I was watching it live. I was checking it out and listening, and I noticed it. And the funny thing was, I hadn't recorded. If I had recorded it, I would have brought it up, because it was very weird. And although this guy's, his audio went out, my audio didn't go out, but I noticed the same thing. So watch what goes on here.
On in-person schooling, and that these painful power... Okay, his microphone cuts out.
Look at the people behind him. And his arms are out now. So look at the people, and his arms are spread. Look at the cowboy hats behind
He
him.
didn't stop the virus, you know? They say, oh,
And then they're going to cut
marks. He doesn't get good marks.
completely
different people standing behind him. Some people...
But his arms are still out. His speech didn't change, but yet everybody behind him is a different person. Smells fishy.
Plan.
Oh, and look at this. Jacob Israel. And I'm going to play this video. And this is hosted by Deanna444333 on TikTok. And I believe Deanna may be in chat as well. So this is Jacob, and I want to play Jacob because all of these things are going to kind of link up to the whole subject matter of what I was talking about.
And that good is going to come out of it, because we need some good right now. We need some good. So I want to read something. I want to take this opportunity to read something to you about Henri.
He's
right?
talking about the hurricane.
Just so you know where it came from. Like I said, there were the initials. I'm just going to read this to you because there's also some great wisdom that we can peel away from this.
The point of this is there are multitudes of things being planned and executed. Now you wonder, how can they do that? How can they cause a hurricane? How can they cause storms? How can they cause... Well, we all know all of the conspiracy theories, but the reality is when you're dealing with powerful entities, demons even, principalities, you know that things can happen. They have abilities.
This is in John chapter 19, and I'm going to start up just a little bit earlier where Jesus is talking to Pilate, okay? Because Pilate says, he's like, don't you realize I have power? I have the power to crucify you, do whatever I want. I'm so powerful. I can do whatever I want to you. Don't you realize that? And Jesus was like, he's like, dude, the only power you got over me, God gave you. If you're going to hurt me, it's because God ordained it. Don't think you're so great. You're just playing a part. You're just playing a part where God is going to be glorified. And so he says, you would not have power over me if it were not given to you from above. Therefore, the one who handed me over to you is guilty of a greater sin. And who are the ones that handed? It was the religious. And do you think that that could possibly happen today? The beast system, the religious system? Do you think that if the truth of Christ starts to be revealed, which has nothing to do with the nonsense you see in mega churches and everything else, although I got to tell you something, mega churches, some of them, they're pretty awesome. I'm not saying that mega churches are bad. Anybody that's trying to do the will of the Lord is a good thing. But I can't say there are a lot of corrupt people that come in the name of God. There are a lot of corrupt people that come in the name of God. That is for sure. And in many religions as well. And they're the ones that turn Christ over to Pilate, to the government. Isn't that interesting? Isn't that exactly what a lot of people are worried about? Of course, God has a better...
So that's Mr. Jacob, and he is not on TikTok. That's just a portion that somebody's taken. And Tracy Vernese is also on TikTok, and she does the same thing for the videos that I have here on YouTube. So you can go there and see those as well. Melbourne, lockdown, Australia. We have lots and lots of Global Witness folks from Australia. I feel for you down there. Hang in there. But look at this. They're not playing around. They got the Pokemon running now.
2 p.m. a state of alert was...
Now, this is something else. First of all, I have a friend on TikTok or on Twitter, and he says, and I don't have this lined up here, but it says, for your information, Egypt has just closed Gaza's only border to the world. This is not good, folks. So with that in mind, I wanted to show you this. This is what's really happening in Afghanistan, what's really going on. So all of these things globally are linking up, and I just want to show you.
All Tajik security forces, numbering 230,000 men on the orders of President Emomali Rahmon. And I'll give you some visuals.
Okay, do you hear what he just said? Tajikistan, which is next to Afghanistan. A few 100,000 soldiers are dispatched into Afghanistan. They're not there to fight the Taliban.
So you can see, so that's 230,000 of the Taliban that have been assembled literally within the last few hours.
From another country.
The idea is to take over the vacuum that's been left by the United States leaving, because they've recalled their troops back into the South China Sea theater and also into the United States for obvious reasons. We can see what's coming. And at 2 p.m., a state of alert was declared in all Tajik security forces numbering 230,000 men on the orders of President Emomali Rahmon. These are the most ambitious maneuvers of their kind in the history of the Tajik state. The exercise tests the combat capability of all weapons in the Tajik army, including aviation and artillery. With the start of the final withdrawal of a foreign military contingent from Afghanistan, Taliban insurgents have launched a large-scale offensive operation seizing large areas of control, including on the Tajik border. 20,000 troops have already been sent to reinforce units already on the border with Afghanistan. The maneuvers ended with debts accepted by Rahmon, who declared that the Tajiks were ready to protect peace and stability in the region. The situation...
So the Tajiks, Tajikistan. That's getting interesting over there. And I believe that we will be at war again over there fairly soon. But for a different reason, to protect the guy in the big house, the big guy. Come on, man, that guy. But let your hearts not be troubled. All of those things must come to pass. Now, I just want to let you know, I just wanted to play this because this is a awesome dude. His name is Jamie, and he's a Global Witness follower, and he's also on TikTok. So
this world. Guys, to me, the world is the people in the suit and ties making the rules, and they're taking over our Earth. So let's get our Earth back. Love you guys.
So I just wanted to play Jamie. And subscribe to his channel on TikTok if you're on TikTok. He's a great dude. I love him very much. Now, if you haven't seen mine, my TikTok here, so let me view profile. So I haven't been on here that long, just a couple months. 34,000 followers. I have videos that have that last video, a couple 100,000 views. Most of them, they're not, they're a couple thousand views, but 50,000, 70,000. But lots of good messages in here, and these are easy for you to share. So I would suggest doing that. But in preparation I can feel my eyes. I want to scratch them out of my head right now. So I'm gonna. I don't want to cut this off early, and I'm gonna try to continue this. And I'm definitely going to be doing more. To give you just an update, we are finishing up here the work that we've done. The rain seems to have gone away for us. Has not for those in Tennessee. 17 inches in a few hours. There's I believe like 25 dead and 50 or 60 people missing right now. It's very bad. So prayers for those folks in Tennessee. But as far as what I'm pointing to, as far as the scapegoat, you're going to be scapegoated. We all are. All of us. If you're not part of this society, you're going to be scapegoated. So with that, I'm going to end with a song here, and I'll probably have to edit this out and the opening intro, so chat won't stay after. But so I'll edit those out. But you'll still be able to watch and listen to this live right now. So with that, I'm going to play this, and I want you to watch the lyrics on the screen because it applies to all of us. I love you very much, and I'll see you soon.
Shortfalls and little sins, close calls when no one wins. Stand tall but running thin, I'm wearing thin. Oh, why are we keeping score?